Welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. I'm your host, Mike, creator of Magus Media Productions. This podcast and others, along with me on this wild ride, is my good friend Andrew. I'm stopping in at the beginning of this show just to let you know that seasons 1 and 5 were initially recorded a few years ago with worse equipment. We were just getting started out, so there is a slight dip in quality the first few episodes of seasons 1 and 5. Please bear with us. It does improve after a couple episodes. I appreciate you giving us a listen, and please enjoy the X-Files theater that we here at Magus Media Productions have created for you.
This is not happening. This is not happening. This is not happening.
Vastly more intelligent than we.
I have held a torch in the darkness to glance upon a truth unknown. An act of faith begun with an ineloquent certainty that my journey promised the chance not just of understanding, but of recovery. That the disappearance of my sister 23 years ago would come to be explained, and that the pursuit of these greater truths about the existence of extraterrestrial life might even reunite us. A belief which I now know to be false and uninformed in the extreme. My folly revealed by facts which illuminate both my arrogance and self-deception. If only the tragedy had been mine alone, might it be more easy tonight to bring this journey to its end.
And welcome to This Is Not Happening. I'm your host, Mike. Today we're covering Redux, Season 5, Episode 1.
The shocking conclusion to the suicide of Agent Fox.
Yes. Did he kill himself?
What?
Or did he
He
not?
shot himself in the face with a shotgun, right? That's what I recall.
He Kurt Cobained it.
Yep.
So yeah, what are your initial impressions of this one? It's a bit of a different episode.
It is a hugely different episode from anything we've seen up till now. At points, it felt like a music video. Just the way it was cut with the intense amount of B-roll and Krichkow's monologue for that's amazing, but oh man, after a while, it's almost hard to watch. It's like, what are we doing here? It was pay dirt. It really was, because it made you feel like, oh, now we're finally getting it. 5 seasons in, and now we're getting on. Yeah.
The aliens were fake.
Yeah, even if it's all bull, at least, it's like, okay, the plot is moving. It's not just werewolves.
It was a very interesting episode. I think, like you said, we get that info dump from Krichkow, and while amazing, I think it does keep in line with the rest of the episode. And what I mean by that is that not a lot is happening in this episode. We get a lot of scenes of Mulder searching. We get a lot of scenes of Scully actually doing like lab work, which is very strange. And it's good for her character to be shown doing that stuff. But outside of autopsies, we don't get a whole lot of it. So that was kind of cool, but they clearly did not have the script for an exciting episode, exciting things to be happening. So they had to resort to monologues, which this show's known for.
At that point, yeah, it's come to be known for that, but it wasn't always that way. Like earlier on, I would say they had a lot more faith in the viewer to piece together the bits and pieces. And I think that was part of the appeal was, they laid out the clues like breadcrumbs, and you, the viewer, would go, oh, they're doing that because this thing is happening. But now we have the scene, as you say, where Scully is sciencing the shit out of her genome, and in a way, I'm glad that we have this monologue of her explaining what she's doing, because without it, it would be very cumbersome.
It'd be like, what is happening?
Or why are we spending 20 minutes watching her shake beakers around? I mean, if this is science, I don't know if I want to go into this career, right? But yeah, it was a bit much. And I mean, I know we're jumping forward to it, but if the end result is a transparency that shows you 2 blocks, I mean, I could have done that with a Sharpie. So I'm assuming there's a whole pile, a phone book of supporting documents nearby that we don't see, right? Because he's like, I got the proof, and it's this transparency. If I'm Blevins, I go, well, okay then. You have put me in my corner with your transparency.
So, to get into the episode proper, At the end of season 4, we are led to believe that Agent Fox Mulder has killed himself because everything he has believed about aliens, about conspiracy, and most importantly about his sister's abduction has been a lie. He is led to believe that, and we hear a gunshot and season 4 ends. Now, season 5 picks up. He is watching, what was it, Andrew?
Yeah, it's a symposium from 1972. It's exploring the implications and possible existence of extraterrestrial life within the galaxy and the universe.
So he's watching this. He's kind of reliving everything he's believed up until this point, and he's got a gun in his hand. And he gets a call from Krichkow. He tries to talk to him. He warns him he may be being spied on. And what the hell? Mulder finds a bug in his ceiling. So we're getting scenes that did not happen at the end of season 4, which is telling us that it was, cleverly pieced together for the cliffhanger. Did he or did he not kill himself?
We're just getting some information. Yeah. He's gotten some notes on his crying technique, and I think he's finally nailed it in season 5. Because, there have been some missteps. But it is a nice bait and switch, You really feel like, oh, maybe we're leading up to a point where he really has. I mean, this is the thing. Leading into season 5, I don't think anybody actually thought that he'd offed himself. Because there was not enough at the time. There was not enough bait and switch of David Duchovny's not in season 5. He's, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they were not planning on anyone buying that, except for maybe the lone viewer who just sees the X-Files every once in a while. Maybe them, but I don't even think they would
So
buy
I
it.
think the reveal here is basically people want to know, all right, you've written yourself into a heck of a plot, sir. How are you going to write yourself out? And they did it because this episode, second highest rated episode of the series, 27 million viewers. And they finally got to go widescreen. And directed by R.W. Goodwin, our man, who is,
heavy hitter.
Well, and they bring him out when they need to, and clearly they needed him for this one, and probably it's only with him at the helm that they managed to get out of it with something tangible. Because there's so much monologuing.
Oh yeah, it all comes together pretty nicely. They do a good job of explaining away the issues at the end of the season or end of season 4. It works for me. I'm sold. I don't have any major complaints with it.
I like the just to get back to the open. I do like the sudden action sequence. It really works because we get this sense that Mulder is spurred back into action with the thought that, oh, wait a second, there's more than just this. That I've come this low and I'm being spied on. Oh no, this will not stand.
Yeah, that shot when he finds the bug and it cuts to the spy's monitor. And I love it because it's like the spy sees that he sees and he's like, I got to clean up right now. I got to get out of here. It's just a really cool transition.
And then the gunshot and the door closing a second later. And it's before the credits, so it's like, it's going to get resolved. But even in that moment, you're like, oh man, what? Who got the shot and where? And they even now, even at the cold open, we're still not going to know, and we're not going to know for another 3 minutes as we go through the commercials. But we get to Scully's apartment now. She's a lonely woman with a dead partner, and no, she doesn't know he's dead at this point, right? So she's just got no new messages on her phone, and
it's just a normal night for her.
Yeah. Of course, we're going to have her undress and run a bath and light some candles.
Oh, yeah.
But Mulder relating there's a dead man in his apartment, been under surveillance for 2 months, and he's going to be, taking the identity of Scott Alselhoff now.
If you notice, every time we are in his apartment, there's no one else there, so you can probably do it pretty easily.
That is a really good plot point. Yeah, nobody wanted to hear. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, the most unbelievable part of all of that, the fact that 2 gunshots went off, one being a shotgun to the man's dead face, and no one called the cops, is pretty astounding.
Well, maybe they did call the cops, and he just had to accelerate his timetable to get lost before anybody saw. But I think back to the episode where he's psychotic because they've been poisoning his water, and there's the... There's the gunshot.
Very similar.
everybody's in the hallway going, what happened? What happened? What happened? He's out there, right? But so yes, that probably was a plot hole that they didn't want.
Yeah, not important for the greater story.
Yep.
But for nerds like us, 30 years later, it is a problem.
Yes.
No.
I do like at the end of the, I don't know what the canon is to call this scene where, Mulder is talking to Scully in the dark about the whole surveillance business.
Why are you sitting in my bedroom in the dark?
It was too crowded in my apartment. I couldn't sleep.
I'm not kidding, Mulder.
Good, because neither am I. There's a dead man on the floor of my apartment. It's only a matter of time before he starts to stink the place up.
What are you talking about, Mulder? What's going on?
Apparently, somebody thinks my life is interesting enough to put on videotape. My apartment's been under electronic surveillance for at least 2 months. Look at this. Courtesy of the U.S. government.
That's the dead man in your apartment?
Yeah, he worked for the Department of Defense.
How did he die, Mulder?
Gunshot wound to the face.
Have you contacted anybody at the Bureau?
I can't do that, Scully. I can't go to the authorities with this.
What are you talking about?
This man Osselhoff worked for the military. Are you beginning to get the picture? Do you see what's happening here?
That the hoax is connected to the military, just like Kritschgau said it was.
This hoax, your cancer, everything. It just doesn't lead back to the military. It leads right back to the FBI.
What?
This man Osselhoff was set up in the apartment directly above mine. I caught him trying to destroy phone records on which the same number was called 17 times.
This is a PBX operator of the Bureau.
Yeah.
Who would he be calling at the FBI?
I don't know.
Mulder, how long has this been going on?
Maybe since the beginning, since you joined me on the X-Files.
That would mean that for 4 years we've been nothing more than pawns in a game. That it was a lie from the beginning. Mulder, these men. You give them your faith and you're supposed to trust them with your life.
There are those who can be trusted. What I need to know is who among them is not. I will not allow this treason to prosper, not if they've done this to you.
Mulder, we can't go to the Bureau making these accusations.
No, but as they lie to us, we can lie to them. A lie to find the truth.
They do set up the new plot element that they're going to have to go under. Basically, they're going to have to go undercover in their own workplace to find out who the mole is, what the truth is, who can they trust. Mm-hmm. That's the new twist, the new paradigm we're going to have in this season. Is they don't know who to trust anymore. We've set it up in the past bunch of seasons that we know who people are, but now they're changing all that. They're changing the rules of the game, and that's what's going to keep the series fresh.
Yeah, the fact that Mulder was kind of like lurking in the dark there for a little while was kind of cool. He's checking the blinds. He is on full paranoid Mulder right now. And I think that only kind of lends to, we don't know who we can trust anymore. This is getting pretty intense.
And it does feed us back to the scene at Mulder's apartment. Now Scully arriving and is going to discover Mulder's corpse. She's complicit in the plot. But what I like is that now we have a new interpretation to figure out what she's feeling. Because in the previous episode when we have this, you have this sense that this is a revelation for her. She's seeing her dead partner, and this is a huge, emotion blasting discovery, and she's kind of unable to process it. But now we know, oh no, she knows what this plan is going to be. She knows who this guy is. She knows it's not Mulder, and she knows that she has now got to lie. So it's a different set of emotions that are very similar.
Gillian Anderson does such a wonderful job. When she's in that apartment and she confirms it's Mulder's dead body, you just see this look on her face. It's so good. And then Skinner rolls up in the hall and she lies to his face. The only Gillian Anderson could pull this off. She does such a good job. And she's like, I verified him through his clothes. Because Skinner presses her on her. He's like, how could you know? I heard he was shot in the face. It was really cool. It's
well done. And I mean, Skinner's been back and forth in terms of the good guy, bad guy, but right now he's definitely in bad guy mode, right? Like
Yeah. They know when to play him as kind of obtuse and when to make him your friend. Yeah. In this episode, he is extraordinarily obtuse and he comes off rigid and harsh. And it only lends to the fact that she is honing in on him for the prime suspect.
But I like, though, that you maybe think that there is some pressure being applied to Skinner that we're not aware of, and that's why he's kind of asking the questions that he's asking them, and why, in the way he's asking them, he is being hard on her to come clean, to tell me what's really going on here without really overtly saying it. But he's a smart guy too, right? He knows that there is certainly the murder of Mulder is not random. There's a story here.
So next scene, he gets his way.
I think it is technically DARPA. That's the what they've actually credited it as. Yeah. So but definitely like this is the place where all secrets are kept, which is the next big. For salivating X-Files fans, this is our next mecca, right? It's like, oh, he's going to go in. He's going to get all the stuff.
All the secrets will be revealed here.
They give away a lot, I mean, even if all of it's suspect, right? At least, for the people who have been loyal to this show, they really did say, we're going to give you a bunch of stuff in this episode.
Mm-hmm. And it's moving straight on to Scully back in Blevins' office. Last time we've seen this guy, he was in season 1.
Yeah,
we don't see him until now.
Yeah, they drag him back in.
So they drag him back. We almost forgot about this guy, and he is playing this slime ball. He's like, matter of fact, he's playing the good guy, but he's always prying her for more information.
Yeah,
he has this gut feeling she knows more than she's letting on, and he prods her.
And I love how cold the sympathy is, right? It's like, it's not even starting off and standing and saying, I'm sorry to hear about the death of your partner. He's starting off by saying, some time has passed since you were first in this office. It's like, yep, stress.
Yeah, it's very, very one-dimensional. Like, I'm just saying this stuff to be nice. Or not to be nice, but just because I'm supposed to.
The other guy's saying, we're awfully sorry about what's happened, Agent Scully. It's like, no, sure you are.
The timbre of your voice tells me otherwise.
Yeah.
And then Skinner immediately fingers Krichgau, which also, again, puts him in the camp of, okay, is this guy part of the plot? Is he part of the conspiracy?
But it's interesting, though, that she does choose to reveal the truth at this point. So the question is, why does she initially clam up? And then later on, when Skinner gives, like in the same scene, beats later, when Skinner shows the picture and says, was this the man? She could have said, nothing further, but because they've laid the threat that, you're not going to be fired now. We're gonna have a big old meeting later, at which point you're gonna have to clear this all up. She could have continued to say nothing, but I feel like it's once the picture is given to her, she's got to come clean, or she chooses to take this moment to come clean, and I'm not sure why they've written it like that.
She's already engaged in a hell of a lie by helping Mulder with his presumed death.
Yeah.
So when they hand her the picture of Krichgau, she's probably thinking something along the lines of, all right, on their end, they know who the leak is, and I have to kind of just focus on myself and my lie and how we're going to pull this off.
Yeah, is the next picture that he shows me going to be the one of us together, me and Krichgau, and saying, so you said that you didn't know him, but yet I've got this picture of you two together.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're giving her an opportunity to come back to the mothership.
Yeah. Most convincingly. He's coming to the realization that it's because of his pursuit of all of this that she's sick, and if she goes, if he can't save her, then his life is just going to fall apart. He really will kill himself at that point. He cares for her so much as a partner and as a person, a friend, that this is his last vestige. If he can't have her with him at all times, it's just not what he wants to do.
Well, but we have trod this ground before as a plot point. I mean, with One Breath, we really have given him the script has given him the opportunity to be confronted with the choice of, do I pursue the truth or am I there for my partner? And he's made the right decision before, and this just underlines the fact that he does care about her, right? Like, he wants the truth,
absolutely.
But I think he also knows that if
there's one person who could pull him from the pursuit of the truth, it's Scully.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of great one-liners from Mulder. Level 4 clearance means he gets to dine at the officers' club. I mean, even in the midst of this, right? His default is to be a little bit schmarmy, and I love it.
Yeah, this whole scene with Mulder and Krichgau, this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. It's just such an exposition dump, but it's pretty fun. aside from the B-roll kind of extravaganza they got going
Yeah.
on. What did you think, Andrew? I know you had a lot to say about it.
Well, I've already gone off about it so far. I mean, I do listen. It gives so much to the loyal fans. It's just the method. I feel like in the edit bay, they realized they had a budget that they could use on stock, and they went to town on it. And it's that case of maybe Chris Carter was in the room with them, going, "Okay, guys, listen. This is the 2 minutes of Mulder and Critchgale walking through the hallway that we've got to work with." And they probably cut it together and looked at it and went, "Ugh, that is so dead. Well, what can we do to dress it up?" And then they made a music video.
They had so much luck. The success of Space the last time they did, stock footage. It was such a good episode that they thought they'd try
Fair.
it again.
I like your sarcasm. It's dripping from the microphone. We need to dissect the scene of Cancer Man walking into Mulder's apartment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because if there's a character who is more schizophrenic or multiple personality, I can't think of who it is than him. Because in previous episodes, he literally tries to burn Mulder alive in a train car. So, I mean, did he forget that this is his flesh and blood? I mean, spoiler alert, but...
He is the ultimate, I love you, but don't make me angry guy.
Fair.
Like the dad who, he loves his kids. He's sorry. Honestly, I think the scene with him in Mulder's apartment is awesome. Because
it plays him up.
We
as
don't
a great
know.
Character,
yeah, it's like he's crying.
Yeah.
What is going on here? He's holding this picture of Mulder as a kid. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's like a whole new level
Yeah.
to it. But like you said, in season 2, he throws a grenade in a fucking train car. So it's like, okay, well, maybe you didn't realize it at the time. I don't know.
That's it. Again, for another a moment of show don't tell, which this episode does not do. Except for this moment where he spies the people or the surveillance device in the way that his shadow is on the floor and we have that one impossible blob of light on this shadow. It is very well done to show us his realization of what's happened. And there's no Cancer Man monologue of him going, "They must have bugged the apartment from above." There's none of that.
I thought he was dead, but then I
exactly. So, that's where it works, and I wish they could have massaged it to do that more in this episode, because I feel like X-Files viewers are pretty on the ball. We will get stuff. If you give us the tools, we will figure it out. But I think they just didn't trust it. Some exec said somewhere, you got to explain it because it's just too dense, or needs to be denser. I don't know. So we are back at the X-Files office. Scully is going to do a little bit of sleuthing. She's going to call Holly at the communications center. They're apparently good buds.
Haven't seen her since Pusher.
Oh, that's right.
If
That
I'm
was
not mistaken.
That was Holly. I thought I recognized her
Have
before.
not seen her since Pusher.
So they fly her down from BC to do the shoot, and oh, wait a second, she's not in the same scene, so they could have done her locally in BC still. That's true.
No. This is still Canada.
Oh, I thought they did. Was it 6?
Season 6.
Okay. Well, I have to change all my notes now. Okay.
After they go Hollywood with the movie.
Okay, is that making a note here? Scribble.
Communications, Holly.
Holly, it's Dana Scully.
Dana, I'm so sorry about what's happened. I just heard.
Holly, I need your help on something. I was hoping that you could help me with some information.
Sure, what do you need?
I have some calls placed at the Bureau on consecutive dates. On the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. They came into the PBX operator. The first was at 11:21. The next at 11:14, 3:07, 2:02, and 5:12. They would have all been transferred to the same extension.
And you're looking for that extension?
Yes.
I got 5 calls matching those times and dates transferred to an executive level extension.
Whose?
It's a branch extension. It could be anyone at that level.
Would Assistant Director Skinner be at that extension?
Yes.
Okay, so I do like that they call her back, and that it is, I think, some classic X-Files sleuthing. It is a bit more high tech, but done in a subtle way that lets us get to the same place that Scully does, at by seeing what she sees. So when we see that the PBX extension is what is it 0130 whatever, and then they're able to sort of piece that together. Oh, that could be anybody on the executive level. Could that be Agent or Senior Director Skinner?
She's getting a little too unfair, honestly.
But Skinner's kind
I
of
think-
asking for it. Skinner's kind of asking for it the way he's being, though, right? It's not like
Yeah, the way he's acting, it makes him out to like have some sort of ulterior motive in this episode, at least.
He's not bad. He's just written that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's jumping, in my honest opinion, to him a little too fast. With all he's done for them
Fair. Yeah.
up until this point, I think it's just like, I mean, I can see where she would suspect him because he's always been kind of obtuse, but I think with as much as he's done for them, it's a little too fast.
So, okay, here's counterpoint. Why not suspect Blevins?
Exactly.
Like,
that's my point.
Has
like,
Blevins been more supportive? Like, you could say maybe there's been some offstage stuff that she trusts Blevins more than she trusts Skinner. Or again, I come back to Skinner's the one who is out there. He's, the first to suspect. He's got that tone of voice. So maybe that's enough. But it is a little bit out of character for her to immediately jump to conclusions because she's got that analytical mind, and she's under stress. I mean, I guess I am giving a lot of counterpoint to, or what if in the episode. Point is, she points the finger at Skinner, and
she chooses Skinner, and it works. I mean, for what it's worth, it does work. I just, as a fan, I think it's a little too soon.
Well, I'm glad though that we get to see Dr. Vitagliano, if I am pronouncing his name right. But they're over at American University, the only one in America. And they're looking at the I-score samples for you, which is a nice callback to the previous episode because that was a little plot piece that they had going.
Yep.
And because, of course, he cannot just tell her over the phone what he's found. She's got to go over there and talk to him. Little scene change action.
Yeah, we get to see the Chimera.
We have a giant...
The monologue of all monologues.
Nothing like telling us everything you know. I mean... Listen, sometimes you got to drop some exposition. Sometimes you got to set the scene. But in this case, I mean, I guess it works because Mulder, this is what he wants. Like, this is what he has been waiting for, essentially, is for somebody on the inside to open up and crack. And maybe he feels like this is the guy, I've finally managed to turn this guy, and he's going to tell me the whole thing. And as much as I'm not a big fan of how they shot this scene, I understand why it's here. I understand why they had to do it the way they did.
Yeah. Was it something that piqued your interest when you first watched it? Is it something that, I could buy that. That's a good story. I have to say, I thought it was decent. I'm not saying it was wholly without plot holes, but...
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it's hard to 2020 hindsight this stuff, right? Like, how did you feel at the time when you saw it? To answer your question, Mike, I think at the time I bought it because I felt like they were taking the show in another direction, and I was willing to be led. Either that, or maybe the pattern of lights in the huge quick cuts was enough to mesmerize me into just sort of going along. But I mean, here's the thing: when they give you the show, you can't what if it to death. You got to sort of go along with it until they change direction. And there was nothing so overt in the way they were playing it that I was like, oh, well, wait a second. In season 3, episode 17, there was this plot point which totally contradicts what Critchcow has said here. There was nothing like that because they consciously didn't give you enough. That's the main thing of the show, is they never gave you enough to actually make a definitive,
to like fact check it.
Exactly.
I was willing, like you said, to be led by Critchcow's story because it's all part of the fun of the X-Files, and what turn is it going to take now?
Yeah.
So on that level, I was definitely bought in.
I wonder if they took any inspiration from West Wing on that, because that show is littered with people walking through hallways. And I imagine they've only got like 3 hallway sets, and they got to keep on recycling them. But
so from there, we are treated to a short scene at the horse track. I like it because CSM and the well-fed man are having a little altercation for the first time. And CSM realized they were doing stuff behind his back.
Yeah.
They had Mulder bugged. All of this was done behind CSM's back, and he's like, I will not be cut out.
But it's either he's telling the truth or it's somebody else in the syndicate. But clearly, CSM thinks, okay, of all the guys in the syndicate, it's that one. That's the fat man elder or well-fed man, whatever you want to call him. He's the one that's got the capability of doing this. Like maybe he's the one with the contacts at DOD who can set this up. Because there's enough there that CSM is able to put the pieces together. So I'm inclined to believe that no, it's big. It's a big old lie, especially as what happens in the next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then it's just the lab.
Yeah.
And the doctor looks like he's going to be sick. He's got that look on his face.
Well,
Scully's told about the chimera, and it's the beginning stages of a life form.
And I'm so glad that they explain it like that, because when they're like saying, "Oh, well, these cells are going through morubula, blastula, and gastrula," I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't remember my grade 10 biology." What? It's the X-Files equivalent of Star Trek's technobabble. You know, when it's like,
yes, very true.
They say something with the techniques, and then they have to unsay it. You know, usually when Commander Riker says, "Give it to me in English, Geordi."
In English, Geordi.
Yeah. So that's what's happened here. But yeah, sure. And it's a nice plot point that, okay, we've got these ice core samples had actual weirdo cells that we can't identify, which is, you know, going to be...
Yeah, we get that quick shot of it actually happening under the microscope.
Yeah. But the real way for us to know that this is important is by giving us 4 to 5 straight minutes of monologue.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because how else would we know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a nice way to move the action along because time clearly does pass. You know, Scully's got to do the science. That hasn't even happened yet.
Part's not happened.
It's not even going to happen yet.
We are intercut with Mulder trying to find doors that work.
Yes, it's a nice
while
scene.
he has exposition. So this is the voiceover section of the podcast. You can just fast forward. Basically, the gist of this scene is Mulder tries a bunch of doors looking for the cure. He did, as always. That man never doesn't have a lockpick
or a flashlight or a spray paint. You know, he's got what he
We're
wants.
just treated to 2 expositions at the same time. Basically, it's going to cut between Mulder searching hallways and Scully doing lab work. I love when he's walking up to the door and that flashing light coming through on the dark backdrop of his room. It's like, oh my God, what's going on in that room? And then he finds all of those, what appear to be alien bodies on gurneys. Yeah, this is pretty intense.
Now, of all the rooms to walk into, you know, like you got to imagine the other room is the Rubik's Cube room. But this is the room that's got the alien bodies. Or maybe every other door in this floor has alien. I never thought of that. Maybe this is just a big old alien body repository.
And one thing to note, we do see what appears to be women all lined up on gurneys, and we see that big sucker thing that Scully had to deal with in season 2. So that's kind of cool that they...
Yeah, he's found the mother lode of this is where it happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it calls back to, I believe, season 3 when the well-fed man's talking to Scully and saying these were, you know, they had that leper colony episode, and these are deformed people.
Yeah.
From tests that they've been doing or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but...
Well, to that point, I can't remember the episode, but I'm pretty sure they basically said they show you what you need to see. And you could argue that this is more of the same. That if the effort is to get Mulder to buy into the hoax that is being sold on him, then this is more of that program. I mean, it would seem to be a lot of effort to go to discredit one person.
It would be an awful lot of happenstance because they don't know what door he's going to lockpick.
And that guard's getting fired minutes before he called CSM. I mean, has been calling straight and say, "Oh, I finally got through to you. Jeez, listen, Osselhoff is here."
Yep. What is going on? And you're fired.
It's definitely one of the most striking scenes in the show. And another case of a Mark Snow standout. Like that music that accompanies that scene is just so well crafted. It is spooky and enticing and just
You got to the music before me, which is shameful. But yeah, from there, I mean, we go to Scully in the lab, and she actually tests her blood and DNA to see if it matches the chimera cells.
Yeah, now you gotta help
That's
me.
pretty cool.
You gotta help me out with that one a bit, because the link here is that if she, and this is all about her finding proof, right? She needs proof to take back and say, "This is my smoking gun." So, what is she trying to find out in the experiment that she wants to run? Because I know there's a lot of talk, and maybe I miss it, but it's just, am I the only one who finds that a little too dense?
No, it's all confusing. Don't. I would say that the realization that if her DNA comes back as a match for the chimera cells, which were in the corpse that they found at the end of season 4, that's indication of tampering. That is indication of government involvement. If she's got the same stuff in her blood and DNA, then how did it get there? And the government is most definitely involved, because that's what's being accused here. That's what's being leveled, is that, you know, the government has been betraying Mulder and Scully and leading them on a wild goose chase using certain tactics.
Well, I feel like that's
her abduction being
that's a
part of
real workplace health and safety claim that she could file there. She's going to get herself set up for life. All right. Listen, her monologue back to Skinner after he's come in with the information about, you know, he knows that it's not Mulder that's dead, it's this other guy or whatever. She knows the pathology has determined that Mulder is not dead, and he wants to know where Mulder is. She doesn't tell him, but the way that she plays it back to him is just I think it's a standout monologue. It's a standout scene for her as being so strong. Her saying, you know, you're going to use this against me. But I like that she is so strong to stand up to him there. But probably at this point she's solidified. Yeah, this is the bad guy, you know. And they definitely play the scene that way, that she thinks, no, this is Skinner. He's the man that is doing this to me. So more monologuing, more shots of Mulder in the bowels of a building. And I do like the intercuts between Scully doing science and Mulder finally, you know, arriving at the Pentagon door, the iconic Pentagon door.
I was just going to say that.
I like that this is a
callback to the first episode when CSM puts the nasal implant.
I feel like at this point they sort of figured out that they did one monologue, they did two monologues, they're going to do all the monologues. It's like, no, we've made our bed, we got to lie in it. So. Okay, I gotta say, this whole business with the swipe is before we go to the panel. The swipe card activations, like the light goes red, goes red, goes red, goes green. Like, I get that it was a cigarette smoking man on the other side going, okay, no, let him through, it's fine. But man, what a dick move! It's like, if you're gonna let him go, just let him go. Like, why make him sweat?
Well, because they didn't have 30 seconds of any other footage to show. So they had to kind of make that scene a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's true.
Talk about playing with a mouse. Watch this. These guys are going to get him.
He's back there talking to the elders, and then I made him sit there for 30 seconds swiping that card. You should have seen the look on his face.
You should have seen him. You can see the sweat from the freaking surveillance.
I love the idea of the MPs sort of walking up, and then like they see Mulder looking at him, and then they like turn their heads away and go, "Oh, damn, he saw us."
This FBI, as we've seen in the season 3 episode about Skinner killing the hooker, they do meetings in the dark, in the rain, no lights. That's not how we do business here.
Yeah, I don't know what this conference room is all about, other than the FBI does. It's a mood lighting kind of thing.
It's awesome though. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not okay. And I gotta say, what the heck is with the protocol in this meeting? Like, why on earth is Blevins throwing it back to her to what does he say? It's you're called on to account for your actions, and say, Blevins says, explain why we're all here, which is a nice recap of seasons 1 through 4, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I would, if it was me in her hot seat, it would have been like, no, it's okay. You can tell me why we're all here.
Tell me why we're all here. Yeah, he comes out full Blevins on this one. Real jerk.
maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's just an empty shell of a man. It's like, can you remind me why we're here, Agent Scully? Because I've lost my notes. I suppose it could be a big dick move of him to say, why don't you tell us why we're all here and let her dig her own grave because they've got all the evidence now.
Mm-hmm.
But she does run with it. And I mean, it's a pretty nice performance on her part to get to that point.
Yeah.
And then we see for the, fourth time, the tearful announcement that Mulder's killed himself. I mean, they love this scene. I mean, it's good acting, but boy, by the last time we see it, I'm thinking, he's moving on. It's just...
Yeah, she puts on a good display, but yeah, they do use it quite a bit. And you know what? Maybe that's why. Maybe because it's so good. Skinner enters the room in dramatic fashion at the peak of the suspense, And as soon as she tries to finger him, nosebleed.
Well, nosebleeds happen whenever you try and do something bad.
Yeah.
Listen, they finally found a way to do nosebleeds that don't require 2 feet of makeup and 15 grand of prosthetics. You just show the drops landing on the file folder, and then you turn back, and she's got her fingers up her nose.
It came from?
I would love it if they panned back and it's Skinner over her shoulder, and he's the one having the nosebleed.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But yeah, the pathology report that Skinner's holding, that's definitely a nice little camera shot. It's like, even with that, she knows, like, oh, this is where it's all going to get blown up. So I got to be bigger. Maybe she made the nosebleed happen on demand.
Right after the nosebleed, it cuts to Mulder taking the evidence to the lone gunman in hopes to find that cure, and it's just deionized water. What a blow!
Oh, that's a hard one. Now, I gotta say, were the lone gunmen credited at the beginning of this episode? If I roll it back, I wonder if we see that.
I'm sure they were. I don't recall.
Well, and when they do it, all 3 of them together, I'm like, oh, it's a lone gunman episode. I love that. But then they only show up at the end. I was like, oh, come on. You bait and switched me.
It's a pretty good cliffhanger, though.
Pretty amazing cliffhanger.
Everything is where we want it to be, but now... Scully's got problems going on. Her cancer's going nuts, and the cure for her cancer is turning out to be nothing. That's like, oh my god.
Yeah. So, shall we advance to final thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I'll go first, I guess. I don't have a whole lot other than what we've already said. I think the episode is good. I enjoyed watching it, and I liked Krichgau's explanation. I know we dove into that a little bit. It worked for me when I first saw it, because it was intriguing. It was something to think about, even if I didn't actually believe it as an X-Files fan. The monologues were a little heavy-handed, necessary to a point, but it does make this episode a little harder to sit through, all things being said. So it does end perfectly. I think it really ramps up the tension and gives fans more of what they're looking for from an X-Files episode. We get awesome CSM character building. That tearful moment in Mulder's apartment was awesome. The setup here it's like something you have to suffer through. And I don't even say suffer like I didn't like the episode. I do like the episode.
This is kind of the Empire Strikes Back in the Star Wars Empire, Return of the Jedi. Like it's got a lot of action that sort of propels us from the start to the midpoint, but it's not going to wrap it up for us. And it's got that lovely cliffhanger. I mean, I think this episode is huge on tension, but short on action. So I think probably they knew going into it, we got to find a way to amp up the adrenaline on this. And the only thing they had was kind of walking through hallways and monologues. Like that, it was visceral and big and completely out of place from whatever we saw before. And I was okay with it, but at the time I thought, this is just, I don't know what you're doing. You're clearly covering your tracks. I accept that you needed to do that, but darkest before the dawn.
I guess the only thing I have to say is prepare yourselves, because in the next episode we have a doubleheader of assholes. We have Sheila Larkin showing up as Margaret Scully, who I hate, and her son Bill. Oh my god, I want to kill Bill.
Oh yeah, Bill's not great. But I mean, if they had Colton come around, then we could have a trifecta, right?
Yeah, just showing up. Just thought I would show up. Heard you
to
had
lend my
cancer. I heard you
support.
lucked into cancer.
That's funny because it's so wrong. Yeah.
It's so wrong.
No, I liked it. I thought it did a great job of propelling the plot forward. I think that they did knock it out of the park in terms of delivering on the promise of how are they going to write themselves out of this hole that they have created with, the big cliffhanger. It worked. I thought it was bigger than it maybe needed to be in the monologues, but for what they needed it to do, it worked.
Well, if that's the show, you want to say goodbye?
This is Andrew's saying goodbye because Mike told me to.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilepod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/magusmediaproductions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.